Napa es la marca independiente de recambio más importante que hay en el mundo, 100% vinculada a la competición dentro del mundo del motor. Tiene escudería en la NASCAR, en Estados Unidos, en la Indy, en Reino Unido. Napa es calidad, es fiabilidad, es seguridad, al final es pasión, es emoción, es competición.
La idea es que en España Napa sea una marca conocida por todos los conductores y que además dé el prestigio al taller sobre la reparación que está haciendo.
La verdad es que con Napa estamos experimentando algo increíble porque estamos trasladando la velocidad de la competición al día a día con nuestros talleres. Gracias a todos nuestros puntos de venta, en una hora pueden tener cualquier producto Napa que tengamos en su taller y esto nos da un prestigio y una velocidad increíble.
Pues la forma de entrar en la marca Napa ligado a la competición en España, en Iberia, ha sido a través de la Epic Napa Racing Weekend, que llevamos ya varios años trabajando, y es la manera de dar a conocer la marca en los circuitos, dar a conocer la marca en la competición, en las carreras.
Bueno, el hecho de la vinculación de Napa con la competición nos ofrece un conocimiento, una experiencia enorme a nivel técnico también, para poder aplicarlo dentro de lo que es el vehículo convencional.
Cuando tenemos el feedback de la gente que viene, todos nos dicen que se lo han pasado de maravilla, han disfrutado del fin de semana, han disfrutado de las carreras, de todo el evento deportivo. Todos salen de ahí vinculando a la marca Napa con la competición y se lo pasan increíblemente bien.
Hello everybody, welcome to the third and final race of the weekend in the F4 Spanish Championship certified by the FIA here from Motorland Aragon, out in the sticks in Spain in the wonderful hills, and we are very excited to be rounding out the weekend with just the one race today. The drivers have already had their qualifying session, but we will have a very, very action-packed final race of the weekend. My name's Chaz Draycott. I'm delighted to have alongside me in the commentary box Zach Sweeney. Zach, we had a great day yesterday, our first day commentating together on the championship. Should be a lot of fun though to round it out with one more race today.
Yeah, it's I was really looking forward to coming in today, I'll be honest. I mean, race 1 and race 2 they had everything, right? We had action, we had excitement, we had drama, safety cars to go with it as well. The thing that a lot of these drivers have been battling though all weekend long, and understandably it is the F4 Spanish Championship, is the heat. And honestly, it has definitely made a difference in terms of what we're seeing. Tyre strategy, that's going to be a talking point coming into this final race as to who has taken new tyres, who hasn't taken new tyres. And of course now with a fresh grid, they completed their second qualifying session of the weekend a little bit earlier on today. So we've got a fresh grid coming into the final race of the weekend and a very, very tight points gap in the championship.
Yeah, we absolutely do. An interesting talking point from yesterday is the fact that we only had, out of the top 4 drivers in the championship, only one of them arrived on the podium at the end of the race once as well, and it was Casper Schormans who managed to get a podium in the second race. Rocco Coronel still, somehow, leads the championship after just 2 sixth-place finishes yesterday in the final results. So it's certainly been interesting, once again showing how competitive this series is. That's another main talking point here, isn't it? With such a big grid, it's so tightly packed. And, I mean, qualifying was an example of that as well, wasn't it?
It really was. The top 10, by the way, top 10 over a 2-minute lap, full of technicality around here at Aragon in the heat, where track management and tyre temperature and everything like that makes a huge difference. Less than a quarter of a second in across the entire top 10. I don't think we can sort of overstate just how impressive that is, and I think it's a testament to how competitive this championship is. We'll run through the full grid obviously in a few moments' time, but Andrej Petrovic setting a 1:58.073. Dan Kelleher in P11 was a 1:58.328. So what's that? Yeah, 2.5 tenths pretty much to the dot between P1 and P11. That is insane.
Absolutely insane. It was ridiculously close, and yeah, I think it's going to be a race that reflects that as well. Lovely helmet design there on Nakazato. Love that. It looks really cool with all the cherry blossom all over it. It's nice to see that drivers still take a lot of pride in their helmet designs, and it's an identity as a racing driver. A lot of them, from a commentary perspective these days, are very difficult to tell apart, but it's nice when you get a bit of a unique design like that to look at. Lovely top-down shot here of the pit lane. You can see all the cars lined up ready to go, and this rather strange procedure that they have where they all rush to get to the end of the pit lane when the light goes green just to sit there. I compared it yesterday to when everybody stands up as soon as the plane comes to a stop to try and get off it, even though they're all going into the same passport queue. Still, it's a lot of anticipation for this final race of the weekend, and off they go. The green light is on, so they all peel into the fast lane of the pit lane. But as you can see there, the number 5 machine, Euros, the TC Racing team, they don't seem to throw the car down the pit lane that quickly. They did that yesterday as well, didn't they? They were the last ones to go down the pit lane. I'm told that Alex is on standby, by the way, so we'll throw down to him. He is in the pit lane. Alex, enjoying the sunshine once again today. Looks good down there, but we've only got one more race for this weekend to be completed.
Hello guys, and taking a page of Nathan Ty's book, I'm not sure I would say enjoying is the word I would use for the sun right now, but it is clear that is what we're having to contend with, both our own team as well as the drivers and squads taking part in the Formula 4 Spanish Championship. Very hot. I would say very difficult for them for what's coming ahead, especially, and this is more relevant than our own suffering, there's no wind. So that means that the back straight is going to make things a little bit easier for the drivers as opposed to perhaps the last race of the weekend, which had a little bit of a crosswind. So another thing to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's going to amplify the slipstreaming even more than yesterday, then we are all for it here in the commentary box, because it was an absolute treat watching them head down to that hairpin yesterday. What's the general vibe been between qualifying and now for this morning? Does it feel like there's a lot of tension, or is everybody feeling a bit more relaxed after their weekend so far?
I think it's tense enough, especially considering, and this is very important for the championship, that this is the last race we have until 2 months from now. So until the end of August, we do not get to see these boys and girls racing again together. So they need to get a good result now to keep that momentum to the end of the summer, even though they will of course have some testing sessions, which will be key for the second half of the season, but they need to get that good result now. And this is especially relevant considering that we have, once again, 4 different teams in the 5 first positions on the grid, which shows once again that the teams that we've come to see at the top of the grid this year continue to be there. Not just the usual suspects, not just Campos, not just MP Motorsport, but also DriveX, also Technicar. So again, the 4 usual teams are going to duke it out. But last conclusion from me in that sense is it's not just drivers at the top 4 or 5. We have approximately 12, 13 drivers who are in such a small gap in qualifying that any of them could win today.
Absolutely, and it's a point that you mentioned yesterday, isn't it, Zach, that there are sort of favourite teams coming into this, but they've not really been, results-wise, the favourites in any respect.
No, not at all. From the feel and the atmosphere that I could gather, obviously we're remote, so it's a very different feel than what I guess Alex would experience from my contacts, if you like, down in the paddock. Campos / Griffin Corps coming into this showed a lot of promise through their free practice, and understandably so, right? Campos are a huge outfit in the world of motorsport. They, of course, along with MP Motorsport, have dominated this championship largely over the last few years. We've not really seen too much of it so far this weekend. As Alex alluded to, it's very much T-Code, very much MP Motorsport, and DriveX as well have been very, very strong. Of course, Nathan Ty taking his first victory of this season, his second in the series as well, over what is now coming into his 3rd season in the championship. One thing I do want to point out in regards to DriveX though, Kaczynski, he has been unbelievably quick so far this weekend, always fighting at the front end of the field. Started this race P5, and yet so far this season hasn't actually stood on the podium. In fact, he's only finished inside the top 5 once.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? I mean, yesterday he has a 28th and a 27th to his name on the result sheets based on penalties that he received. But it is a massive shame, you know. I was wondering after yesterday where he'd be in the championship. He's 15th at the moment on just 10 points, which is, it just seems so wrong and so backwards. But at the same time, we praise the fact they have such a strict point scoring system here that is only the top 10 drivers in races 1 and 3 and only the top 9 drivers in race 2. So they really have to fight for every single championship point here, and that is proof in the pudding, really, because Kaczynski, sure, in some other series finishing 28th and 27th may still get a handful of points for that, but here it's not considered a point scoring result. So yeah, very excited to see what he does about today. I think another driver to keep an eye on will be Boris Leisen. Boris yesterday put in some great performances, but again, on the result sheets, he only has a 25th and a 10th to his name due to penalties, and because that 10th came in race 2, he scored no points. So he's had a complete, well, in a clean sheet in football is very good, but it's a clean sheet in motorsport, which is not what he wants. So I'm sure he's going to be a little bit fired up for today.
Indeed, so here's the starting grid for the the third race of the weekend. Petrovic alongside Kasper Schurmans share the front row. Vivek Kanthan, who stalled on the grid yesterday, starts third alongside Nacho Tugnon, third and fourth. They keep each other company on the second row. Elliot Kaczynski, who'll be looking to capitalise on some potential Nathan Tye alongside him on row 3 from Boris Leisen, and Noah Montero finished P4 in both races yesterday. We'll start this one from P8. Alex Pinheiro from Rocco Coronel completes the top 10 from Dan Kelleher. Quarter of a second, by the way, all the way back to P11. Jacob Mikulev alongside him from Ty Fisher, and Juste Mulder, P3 in the rookies yesterday, starts 14th from Blaskos alongside Dean Pedersen. Onado from Stephen Hayden's complete row number 9. All the way back to the top 20 comes Burnett and Philip Rice for MP Motorsport with Louis Cochet, and that is Karras, the first of the two twins for G4 Racing. Paul Barella alongside Luna Flusha, one of the top female drivers in this championship. Boloet, who had a couple of crashes yesterday, will be looking to a bit better. The other Karras alongside him on row 13. Urus alongside Alfos Mietanen. Then comes Frigole, Radek in P30 from Sato, and Martinez in P32, completing the 16th row of the grid from Maria Neto, who suffered a crash in qualifying with Zoe Forescu. Will start this one from the pit lane, I believe, and that completes the grid there. A very fast run through, but of course they're now making their way to the back end of the formation lap, and well, all eyes on Andrej Petrovic, who has been, to be fair, the talk of the town coming into this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely has been. He's had a 3rd and a 5th so far, but before that he had a very inconsistent season. He had a 2nd place in the 2nd race at Portimao, but that was bookended either side by a 30th and a 26th. So yeah, he's certainly been up and down the order. He's got peaks and troughs, as we say, and he's currently 8th in the championship. Not many points between him and Pinheiro and Ty Fisher, two other drivers we expect to see going well. We've obviously mentioned our picks for the weekend. Alex, coming to you quickly, is there anybody that you've got your eye on in particular for this final race of the weekend?
Well, I do have to say, as you were mentioning, that Andrej Petrovic is definitely one of the men to look out for, especially because I have to tell you that in their own team, in Technicar Tico by Antok, apparently there's this thing called a nickname, and his is Sunday Man. You can probably start to guess why this is the case, especially with those qualifyings that he has been doing very, very well on Sunday. So he will be hoping that this nickname brings him good fortune on what would be, do not forget, his potential first win of the regular season. So that's my pick.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout at all. We've got a lot of drivers, like I say, that could be, as we say, under the radar for this weekend. But, I mean, the championship leader, Rocco Coronel, 2 6th places yesterday. Do you think he can do a little bit more from there in this 3rd and final race just to restore a bit more faith?
He probably needs to, but at the same time, I think he's supported by a good team that is well aware of what it takes to fight for championships, and this means that risks need to be mitigated, especially on those days where you know that you don't have necessarily the pace to fight for a win. So if he has it, he should be fighting for it. If he doesn't, maybe he settles for letting other drivers do mistakes. One thing I do want to mention as well, I talked for a brief moment with Noah Montero before he went out on the car, and I saw a very combative attitude on his face when we just exchanged a couple of words, which shows that even though Campos has been struggling a little bit more than it's normal this weekend, the team is very much still prepared to fight on the last race of the weekend, and this to me is a good sign. It means that they have kept working, they haven't given up on that hope to fight for the win. So let's see if they have something up their sleeves.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things here is the determination of some of the teams to turn what might be a difficult start to the weekend around. And Zach, you've seen it through karting as well, where these guys, it's such a savage world in karting where you either win or you're last. You may as well be last if you finish second. It's pretty savage, but you have to have a very strong mental fortitude, don't you, for this?
100%. And, we spoke about it yesterday. These drivers, they're anywhere from 15 to 17. They're very, very young. And, you try and ask a 15-year-old to be emotionally regulated. Like, it's just not going to happen, is it? Absolutely not. But they've come through karting, and like I said yesterday, they've exposed themselves with so much experience, so much knowledge through karting. Kaczynski, one of them, you'll see the World Racing banner on the side of his car. He come through the majority of them have come through very uniform outfits through karting, very professional outfits through karting, and they've had that experience, that exposure to very professional driver coaches, psychologists in some aspects as well. So they've had that experience to face that adversity and bounce back. Ultimately, it's how you use that knowledge that you've been given and how you apply it into those situations. But for a lot of people, it's not necessarily looking at one race in isolation. It's how can you mitigate the damage and look at the bigger picture. The biggest lens that you can look at the season with, the better your chance in the championship.
I learned some fantastic words off you this weekend, Zach, I must say. I haven't emotionally regulated, and yesterday I think it was emulative was the word that came out as well.
I don't even know if that's a word, I'll be honest.
I think it is. I think it's all good. Alex, any final words from you before we get things underway here? It looks like everybody's clearing off the grid now.
I would say, as a last important, very key conclusion is that I am very impressed with the dictionaries that you guys have at home. So let's make a bit of a shout out to that. Very good, very elegant. Hopefully the drivers are just as elegant as you two.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. I don't think I've ever been described as elegant, Zach, so that's a first at least. But still, I think it's going to be a fantastic way to round out the weekend here with this last race at Motorland Aragon. As rightly mentioned, though, no wind, which, I mean, it sounds like such a strange thing to get excited over, but I tell you what, if that's going to make the slipstream even stronger today, then I'm all for it, because we saw a lot of it yesterday, didn't we?
As someone so invested in his flight sims, Chaz, I'm sure no wind is something that you do get quite excited about, I'll be honest. When you get that notification from ATC, that's bliss. It's going to be a super good race, I'm sure, and that slipstream down in towards turn 15 at the hairpin, all of them are important. 15 seconds until we get the formation lap underway, and it should be a very good one indeed.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what Petrovic can do from pole position. You mentioned the tyre situation earlier on. You said that, was it the T-code cars that you said were taking fresh tyres for this, and Schauman's is not? So it's going to be intriguing to see how they use that to any sort of advantage as we get the formation lap underway. But basically, if Schauman's hasn't taken tyres here, just to educate me and everybody else that may be watching, if Schauman's hasn't taken fresh tyres here, what would the process be for them to make sure they're still as good as can be?
Well, naturally, after the session yesterday, they'd have heat scraped them, they'd have taken off the marbles. Around the circuit, naturally, the car is going to go through different degradation phases, especially in heat like this. You'll see as a car pulls into the pit lane that the surface of the rubber picks off in different ways. Naturally, around a circuit, the tyre is going to lean laterally. It's going to load up through the lefts, through the rights, under braking, under acceleration. And also, the way the cars are set up, they're set up differently in terms of their toe, so how the tyres are pointing, and then also the camber in terms of how the tyres are tilting. So it's not just a flat surface that the tyres wear down with. After the race, the team's goal basically is to scrape it back to as even of a surface as it can be, identify any particular points of concern, but overall they can sort of get the tyre as fresh as possible. For Schauman's, he's already done a race distance on those tyres, but thankfully with the Hankook tyres they can go the distance. Tyre conservation through a race distance isn't as big of a concern, still definitely there. The question is now, though, of course, can it do what is a total of 55 minutes in Spanish heat? That is going to be the challenge. Will we see Schauman's burst of pace that we saw on Saturday? Maybe, maybe not. All remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think if anybody can get the most out of that tyre, it's going to be Kasper Schauman's. But you do worry that with the pace he had yesterday, is the lifespan of that tyre extended, or has it been shortened greatly because of how quick he was? Interesting, as you see them go through turns 14 and 15 there through the chicane, you could see quite the sort of strip of the tyre that's been worn down more because of the camber on the wheels here, the way that the tyres lean. A lot more of the inside part of the tyre seems a lot more worn down on some of the cars that are obviously not on the fresh rubber. There is Petrovic then, pole position for him ahead of Shawmans, and interesting to see Canthan right up there as well. It's good to have him back up there, because difficult day yesterday with that stall on the grid. No major results to write home about. Nacho Tunion taking the race victory yesterday. Kaczynski hoping for some points. Ty and Lysen. I mean, we've got Montero, Pinheiro and Coronel completing the top 10. Everybody in the top 10 here has a bit of a story to add a chapter to, don't they? It's going to be a very, very packed top 10 throughout this race, subject to, obviously, any contact, which we do not hope for, because I'd love to see all 10 of these guys, and obviously the rest of the field, go for it in this final race.
We had it yesterday, didn't we? The top 10, for the most part, pretty bunched up. Vivek Canthan, you say about, not too many results to write home about. He stalled on the grid in race 2. Went to dead last, came back through to finish P15. If he can nail a start, and naturally that's going to be something playing on his mind, he needs to nail this start from the outside second row of the grid alongside Nacho Tunion. If he can nail this start, he is one in prime position to maybe contest for the win. Back end of the field now lining themselves up, and we'll get this race underway.
We absolutely will do, and I'm very excited to see what this has in store. Will people try and right their wrongs? Will people try and just continue a solid weekend? We're about to find out here at Motorland Aragon in the final race of the weekend of the F4 Spanish Championship. In just a moment, we should have the green flag at the back of the grid, and then we will be all good to go. You can see there is no wind. It is simply just heat haze down there. There seems to be a little delay for just a moment, and now the lights come on, the revs will rise, and for the final time this weekend we are underway. Straight off the bat, the front two swap positions instantly. Over to the left goes Petrovic. Shawmans tries to go around the outside into turn 1. Petrovic says there's no way around there, sunshine, and now down the inside Canthan tries the move as well. Coronel there chasing a big group of machines, including 2 of the DriveX cars that are right together. That's Ty and Kaczynski. They're going side by side just in front of him now as well, actually, which I think is Montero trying to regain a position. He's gained one already over the KCL Motorsport car just behind him. Nice and tidy through the first couple of corners, though, and Petrovic up to third now. Sorry, Petrovic is leading. It's actually Tunion up to third, and now Canthan back down the inside of him, and look at that, actually. Round the outside of Shawmans, he turns a defensive move into an offensive one, Zach. That was great stuff.
He could have taken fresh tyres for this race, let's not forget. So Andrei Petrovic and Nacho Tunion in the early phase of this race, before their tyres go through a whole heat cycle and get into that degradation, that graining phase, will be very, very quick indeed. However, Tunion's progress being halted by Vivek Canthan's pressure. Now through turn number 10, this long left-hander barely flat, but probably not on the opening lap of the race. He's fighting away in the battle for third. Shawmans, meanwhile, wants to stay on the rear end of Andrei Petrovic as they now negotiate their way into the chicane. Bit of a twitch there we saw from Kasper Shawmans, and that is going to give Andrei Petrovic the sort of slight foothold that he needs to keep the lead on the opening lap.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job instantly, but Shawman's doing really good to hold that second place as well. It was just interesting how they both swapped lines straight off the start. It was almost like Petrovic wanted to cover him off down the inside, and Shawman's went, you know what, I'm going to just do the opposite of that, and I'm going to try and go all the way around. Side by side there for what looks like 5th position. That's the 2 DriveX machines side by side, one with white wing mirrors, one with red. And in amongst them as well is Noah Montero, trying his very best to get back up there and chase the guys further up the road. Rocco Coronel, no major progress from him. Down the inside goes, I believe, Nathan Tyres. Coronel involved in that one as well. I think that'll be Boris Lysen in there. A few more cars go off the road in the background. It was the 81 of Noah Montero in that fight, trying to get back in front of Nathan Ty now. They need to be careful, though, because if these guys fight too hard here, Zach, they could lose that lead quartet very easily. Oh, and there is the quartet falling apart. That is Shawmans. Shawmans hit in the rear there by, I believe, Canthan would have not been in 4th position.
Yeah, it was indeed. He's lucky not to lose the rear wing there. Is Kasper Shawmans. Vivek Canthan just continues on. He'll be hoping not to have too much front wing damage. I was about to say Nacho Tunion went for the send of the century down into turn 15. We just caught the back end of it. Rocco Coronel, though, right in and amongst the thick of it, fighting with Juste Mulder. His first Formula 4 weekend, by the way, here at Aragon, running very well inside the top 10. Aleix Pinheiro also rounding up the top 10 as well. This is a huge gaggle of cars. Meanwhile, the top 5 now starting to break away. While I say that, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th beginning to break away. Petrovic in a league of his own at the moment, 1.5 seconds clear of his teammate T-Code 1 and 2 here in race number 3.
Yeah, they'll be really happy with that. I mean, they would never wish contact on their opponents, of course, out of good sportsmanship, but I mean, they'll take it. It's part of the racing. At the end of the day, you've got to make it to the flag before anybody else. Petrovic and Tunyon first and second. Ty and Montero then in third and fourth. Nathan Ty going really well, actually. He started sixth on the grid now, and he's managed to make his way through the little incident and gain a place on Noah Montero at the same time. Kaczynski now inherits the lead in the rookies, and Canthan actually doesn't seem to have a problem or any damage. He stayed in sixth place. He's ahead of Coronel, who is now hoping to get on that lead train, but behind Coronel, Juste Mulder's having to suddenly go defensive. He's got Lysen, Pinheiro, Mikalev, Kelleher, Fisher in there as well with Blaskos, and Stephen Haydens. Stephen Haydens was involved in a few bits of shenanigans down here into the hairpin yesterday. Manages to get back up into the top 10 here. Oh, a bit more contact. I was just holding my breath then. I was waiting for a car to hop, skip and jump over the curb. Looked like somebody was off in the background there. Zach didn't quite catch who, but wow, this is feisty stuff.
Yeah, it is very excited, let's say, from these guys. And you have to say, Juste Mulder not scared to get his hands dirty at all. Defensive towards turn number 1, and now he's stuck now. He's committed. He's got to defend for the next 25 and a half minutes. He can't back out of this. He's dropped the anchors, and now look what it started. 3 wide in the background, nearly maybe even 4 wide as they all jostle their way up the hill through turn number 3. Nicely done. I think that's from Daniel Kelleher to establish a bit of control, a bit of normality, I suppose, in a very frantic train. Behind Juste Mulder is Boris Lysen, who's looking to recover and salvage something from this weekend. Duck to the inside through turn number 7. The pole will try and find a way through, but Juste Mulder shuts the door in his face, reaches the apex first, and will keep what is only 8th place, let's not forget.
Yeah, so this is only going to be for 4 championship points if he can hold this. It's going to be the hardest he's ever worked for 4 championship points. You could see the car there bottom out over the curb. It rotated. As the front wheels came off the ground, it almost spun like a spinning top over that curb, but he managed to get it all back on the ground and shoot it out of the corner. But Boris Lysen is not hanging around. He's really trying his best now to get around Juste Mulder. He's going to be on the outside here, but no, as we said yesterday, that's not really a prime overtaking opportunity. But then again, he gets a lovely cutback on him. Tries going one way, then the other. He's got Pinheiro in there as well, who really needs to get some points back at the end of this weekend. That is lovely stuff by Boris Lysen. He set that up 3 corners ago. That is a stunning manoeuvre, but now he's going to be the lead car on the massive back straight with loads of slipstream and a chain of them behind him.
Yeah, that right-hander really tightens up, and it's slightly off camber as well, so really impressive stuff from Boris Lysen to hold around the outside, trail braking key through there. He's all the way to the white line by the time they reach the hairpin. He'll be defending this for his life. Pinheiro trying to go to the outside of Juste Mulder. They'll spread 4 wide by the time they reach the apex. Little bit of contact. That's the 27 of Juste Mulder getting a tap from behind. One of the GRS cars as well. That's going to be Stephen Haydens getting right into the thick of it, up over the crest. Look at the gap that has formed behind Rocco Coronel. About half a second maybe between sort of Kaczynski, Canthan and Coronel, and then it's 5 seconds back to Boris Lysen and P8.
Yeah, it just seems like an absolute age, doesn't it? 5 seconds in Formula 4 is just nuts. But there was a big send by Casper Schormans around the outside. He tried to go really late on the brakes and get around everybody, but then just got shuffled out, went a little bit too hot and wasn't able to make the places back up. As you can see, he's dropped 13 places from where he started due to that incident earlier on. Another great gaggle of cars towards the tail end of the order as well. I think that's one of the most entertaining things here, is that there's always a battle to look at. There's always cars fighting in this championship. Provides us with fantastic entertainment up here in the commentary box. But I imagine, while it is very competitive and obviously very serious, I imagine it can be pretty good fun behind the wheels of these things racing against one another. But then again, I say that, it's not quite the race that Petrovic is having. He's disappearing over the horizon quite literally with his teammate in tow.
Yeah, indeed. The gap, though, has come to less than a second between the 2 T-Code cars. Montero, now the one in P3 for Griffin Core. Talking about the Campos outfit, if you like, Campos and Griffin Core effectively the same team, as is the case with a lot of the other ones. KCL, MP Motorsport, T-Code, Technicar, they're all under the same awning effectively. Yet to get on the podium so far this weekend, any of the Campos cars, and Noah Montero being, well, the one to lead that charge. It was 2 4th places yesterday for the Portuguese driver, and right now he sits P3, just ahead of Nathan Ty. Gap to the leader, flirting around a second. Now the question remains, what's going to happen if/when Nacho Tunion gets onto the rear end of his teammate, because Montero isn't a million miles behind, neither too is Nathan Ty, but ultimately Petrovic is going to be chasing his first win of the season, his third podium, and Nacho Tunion will be chasing his second win of the weekend. And at T-Code, a 1 and 2 is going to mean a lot, but for each of the drivers, a race win is going to mean a lot as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult call, I think, especially if one feels they're faster than the other. But obviously, Tunion will feel like he's quicker at the moment, but he's going to be helped out by the slipstream. But it's whether they work together and they continue swapping places on the straights. That's something that you can very often do. Use the slipstream to your advantage. Just let your teammate go by. Don't make life difficult. Just keep swapping and just negate that gap to the cars behind. But Noah Montero doing a great job at leading the charge to chase them down. Nathan Ty is just there with him, but not really in threat range just yet. And then it's the same really for Kaczynski as well. He's got a teammate in front, but they've all got sort of invested interest ahead here, except for Rocco Coronel, because they've all got a teammate in the mix. You've got Canton and Montero, 2 teammates, Nathan Ty and Kaczynski teammates, then Petrovic and Tunion teammates as well. So Rocco Coronel, he's going to feel a little bit out of sorts here. But I suppose at least he doesn't have to worry about Boris Leisen behind, because it'll feel like there's nobody else in the race behind now for Rocco Coronel, with the humongous gap that is behind him. Is a bit wide from Tunion there.
Yeah, Rocco Coronel, he's had a lot to be desired this weekend. I don't want to just completely slate the kid, because he is very good.
Though.
Is Rocco Coronel, the 15-year-old. He's the 2025 Ginetta Junior champion, took 11 victories over last season. Ginetta Juniors, by the way, a championship that Lando Norris has won in the past. He has won in WSK, one of the best championships that you can go and win in Europe. And, of course, he's part of the Red Bull Racing Academy. He is a very, very quick, very competent driver, just at the back end of that train there. Understandably, in a Red Bull liveried machine for, of course, MP Motorsport. Took 2 wins to open up the season, but this weekend, 2 6th places, and maybe later on in the season he's going to be grateful for bagging 2 P6s. But yesterday he sort of was let down a little bit by casting the anchors a bit too quickly in the race. Now he's got the opportunity and the fortitude to put his foot down and push. He's under no pressure from behind. Can he get onto the back of Canton and Kaczynski, Ty, Montero, potentially? Let's not forget, we've not had a safety car yet in this race. That could open the door for Rocco Coronel to potentially save his weekend and crucially, bridge a little bit of a gap in the championship with Casper Schurmans down in P14.
Yeah, it's sort of flipped the other way, hasn't it? Because Casper Schurmans was going so well yesterday, and we saw him chipping away at that championship advantage to Rocco Coronel. The gap now coming down to just 4 points here today. But it could very quickly go in the opposite direction, and all of that hard work yesterday by Schurmans could have been undone by that contact with Vivek Canton, wasn't it, in the 22 machine. So I'd be intrigued, obviously, whether there's much of a question mark over who's to blame for the incident as well, whether there may be a penalty coming Canton's way. That could obviously elevate a number of drivers up a place, so something we have to speculate about as commentators, of course, because penalties are prevalent. But yeah, we've certainly got a race on our hands now in terms of the championship. It's always one driver just trying to get their foot in front of the other and then them suddenly being one step back again. It's very, very intriguing. What also is intriguing is Montero and how quickly he has caught up to Tunion here. He is getting right onto the back of him now. He's going to be well within slipstream range, just 0.4 of a second last time they cut the beam. Look at the back end of that car hanging on for dear life through turn 15. You could see that camber that Zach rightly mentioned earlier on. And now he's further into the slipstream than Ty is behind Montero. And I think over the next lap or so, Montero needs to use that while he's got that slight gap back, because if he's got a chance to have a go, he needs to do it when he doesn't need to worry about defending as well.
Yeah, my question is as well is, should he go? That's the other comment. You can, but should you? Petrovic will be hoping that he does. He wants to dispatch of this chasing pack as quickly as possible, but Montero and Tunion, do they sort of have a mutual agreement to say, look, the gap's less than a second? Montero might go, I'll give you a lap or two, let's try and see if we can go and catch him. That's answered that question. Defensive into turn number 1. Tunion wants to keep this P2. Montero wants to be the one to lead the charge. Petrovic is going to be loving this as we tick closer to the halfway point. Now, if I'm Tunion, I'm not fighting this one too hard. Use Montero's momentum to fight for the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about whether they can even fight for the lead or whether they're going to consign themselves to second and third position. But I know that Petrovic will be seeing this in his mirrors, and even though it is his teammate that is under attack, he'll be thinking, thank goodness for that. I don't really have to worry about him too much, because now he is preoccupied. But then again, Tunyon was really good at defending yesterday when he won the race, so we know that he can deal with the pressure from cars chasing him down. It'll just be whether he can do that while also wanting to catch somebody ahead, because slightly different scenario for him this time round. Still 17 minutes to go, and touch wood at the moment, no safety cars, no major dramas to subdue the race slightly. We've had green flag racing from the start, which makes a difference to race 1 yesterday, where we had, what was it, 3 safety cars in the end. But still, great action once again here from the F4 Spanish Championship here at Motorland Aragon. There is a look at the best laps by the two drivers, at a 0.9 for Montero and a 59.5 for Tunyon. So a good 0.6 of a second nearly over Tunyon. It shows you that the slipstream is very, very potent here, doesn't it?
It does. It works, especially with no wind as well. It just means that the driver in front hasn't really got any leg to stand on. They're punching the hole in the air. That's what Nacho Tunyon is doing. He goes defensive into the hairpin. Montero will follow him, will duck to the inside and get it late on the brakes. Nicely done there from the Flying Dutchman, side by side between the two of them. Nacho Tunyon gets run off the road there from Noah Montero, who will fight his way through to P2. Getting involved now is race 2 winner Nathan Tighe, side by side with the T-code up over the crest.
Unbelievable stuff. Nathan Tighe just appears out of nowhere. Tunyon's going, where's he come from? Out of nowhere. But Nathan Tighe suddenly finds himself in a podium position, and it's a similar scenario to what we saw yesterday afternoon. We were talking about Kaczynski, I think it was, waiting behind a battle in front of him, not going too early, waiting for the opportunity to present itself, and that's exactly what Nathan Tighe has done here. He's waited for that battle to erupt, and all of a sudden, look, I think Noah Montero's got the call to give the position back there. He felt like he obviously forced Tunyon off wide through the hairpin, and that's good to see, though. It's lovely to see that's resolved so quickly, isn't it, Zach? Because in other forms of motorsport, the driver would go, nah, stuff him, I'm off, and then just drive over the horizon. But yeah, it's nice to see that, I think.
A bit of a mentality has arisen in motorsport and sim racing, to be fair, as well, generally, which is race to the apex. If I get to the apex first, then it doesn't matter if you're on the outside of me. You just open up the steering, and that's that. And it's a dynamic these drivers will be used to in karting. Ultimately, a lot of the time in karting, if you're on the outside, good luck, to be honest, mate. But ultimately, through such a tight corner like a hairpin, you've got so much lock on, you're getting it slowed down, you're at such a low minimum speed, there's not really much of an excuse to not give a bit of a car whip to the outside. No. Through a flat-out right-hander, where the inertia naturally brings the car to the racing line, you can kind of understand. But yeah, through there, Noah Montero doing the right thing, giving it back up to Nacho Tunyon. As a result of that, Nathan Tighe is loving life. He's up into P2. And what a weekend this could be, by the way, for Nathan Tighe, the British driver. He took P2 in race 1, P1 in race 2. Right now sits second in race 3. Andrej Petrovic is like, well, what's going on, lads? I'm in a glorified practice session up here in the lead.
Yeah, he's absolutely loving it. But you're right, Nathan Tighe, went second and then thought, I'll go one better and go first. You can't really go much better than that, than going first and getting the fastest lap, I guess. But he's at least going to be happy to get some big points, especially as you score more points in this race for finishing in second place. Then, actually, no, you'd score the same points for finishing second than you would for winning race 2. So, yeah, he's going to be really happy to get 2 18-point scores. Bit of a battle erupting in the background there as well. I think that's Canton, is it not? With Kaczynski side by side, Coronel in the front row seat for that one. This would be Coronel's worst finish of the weekend, but only by 1 position. But that doesn't say a lot, because the other 2 were 6 places, so bit of a... Well, there you go, he's 6 now. He said, watch this, Chaz. I'll undo that. Gets back in front of the car of Kaczynski there, car 44. That's actually the battle for the lead in the rookies as well now, because Coronel takes the lead there. Kaczynski was leading rookies all the way through this. Intrigued to see how that one finishes, because I don't think they'll be able to... I was going to say, I don't think they're going to be able to catch the train in front, but... This is F4, anything could happen really. Slipstream's so massive, all it takes is for Tunyon, Montero and Tighe to have another scrap, and they'll be back in the mix before we know it.
They will be. The momentum around Aragon is very important, especially in these lower powered Formula 4 cars. And speaking to Aleix Pinheira just before the weekend, such a finesse to get this right. A huge step from karting into Formula 4. Trail braking very much key. And once you start getting back on the power, naturally the cars start to drift wide. It's very easy to get that on power understeer in these cars. That's why the brake trace so important. That's a bit of a finesse that they will be familiar with in karting. And what it means as well with the low power and the low end torque for these cars is it means that if you start going side by side, very quickly you're going to lose quite a lot of lap time, and that's all it takes, as Chaz said, to allow the likes of Coronel, Kaczynski and Lysen to all get back involved in the fight for the podium. Nathan Ty, he'll be used to defending based on his valiant effort yesterday in race number 2. He, over his shoulder, he's got the Spaniard of Nacho Tunion and the Portuguese driver of Noah Monteiro over his shoulder. Down the inside, Monteiro will go for it. Late dive to the apex through turn 15. Tunion caught napping slightly, and up now into P3 goes Noah Monteiro.
That was very committed from Monteiro, wasn't it? Just seemed like it came out of nowhere. All of a sudden made the move, and bang, up into third position he goes. But another little view on the left-hand side there, actually, of something that I wanted to raise as we went into this race, is the fact that it's a massively international grid. A lot of the time when you have a nation tied to the title of a championship, being the F4 Spanish Championship, a lot of people, I imagine, will tune in expecting it all to be Spanish drivers, or if you had the UK Championship, or British drivers. But in this case, it is a colossally international grid. Sure, there might be some more Spanish drivers than any other nation, but that's only because of the logistics, I imagine. It's a great grid of nationalities that we have here, and it's once again proof of how strong a championship this is after many years on the circuit. And
it's not overly Eurocentric.
No,
understandably, there's quite a lot of European nations represented, but we've got the Canadians, we've got the Japanese, the South Americans all involved. So it's really good to see that international aspect, and it's something again you see in karting. The aim for a lot of drivers is to go into Europe. For one reason or another, Europe is where a lot of that competition, a lot of that prestige seems to be. And you talk about drivers like Oscar Piastri, like Lucas Di Grassi, who had to make loads of sacrifices, sort of leave their families at home, come over to Europe to fight at the highest level of the championships. And again, a lot of these drivers are kids. Legally, they are kids.
Yeah.
So huge sacrifices having to be made, all in the pursuit of their ambition. And to be fair, for the F4 Spanish Championship, I think it's somewhere in the region of about 13 drivers who have competed in Spanish F4 have gone on to race in Formula 2. One of them being Pepe Marti, who now races for Cupra Quiro in Formula E and has, recently taken his best finish, 2 podiums in 2026 for Pepe Marti. So the future is bright for the Spanish F4 stars. And dauntingly, I've just seen the yellow flag icon come up from the Diamond Tower.
It's Pedersen, I believe. Pedersen, the DXR car, has unfortunately come to a stop somewhere. He's come off at turn 12, the left-hander just before the back straight. He has stayed where he is. So hopefully the car's not in too much of a treacherous position that we need a safety car, and hopefully also he can get it moving and somewhere out of the way. But yeah, a big shame to see Pedersen drop down. But you're absolutely right, though. The fact that a lot of drivers want to get over to Europe, I think, is down to because it's so many different cultures and ways of going racing with so many countries in one geographical area. If you're over in Australia or over in the United States, everything's done the same way and in a very similar condition, as the safety car is called, to unfortunately subdue the race with 9 minutes left to go. But just to finish my point, if you race in the US, sure, if you like the way they do things, then you've got a lot to pick from, loads of circuits, loads of parts of the United States to go to in a huge geographical area. But I think the idea of coming and racing in Europe is one of my favourite words, actually, isn't it, Zach? Versatility. To be able to race in so many different countries, in so many different ways, I think that's great for tuning a driver in terms of their mental state and their sort of preparations, let's say.
Yeah, forces them to be adaptable, and
yes,
these drivers, they do so much. I was looking through the karting careers of a lot of these drivers, and first-hand experience of it. You'll see them one week in La Conca or Lonato in sort of the north of Italy. Next weekend they'll be racing at Sarno in the south of Italy. Next weekend they'll be off in Genk in Belgium, and then here, there, and everywhere really for each of these drivers. And it's sort of a back-to-back, almost a full-time job. They race from Thursday to Sunday. On Monday they're on the plane. How they fit in school, I don't know. It's actually quite a bit of interest for me. I'm doing a degree in education, so it's going to be something I will look into for my dissertation. So drivers, expect a DM asking about your school. Nonetheless, 8 minutes left on the clock under safety car. Now, what this crucially has done for Petrovic, the gap that he had built has been slashed. Nathan Ty will be right on his gearbox when we go green flag racing once again. Montero will be there as well. For everyone, this is a lifeline thrown, and one that has come largely at the detriment of Andrej Petrovic.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they recover from the safety car here and what the mental states are like, I think. So some of them now will maybe be a bit grateful, because if they're not on fresh tyres, Obviously, this gives them a little bit of a break. Obviously, they will still be red hot because the surface there is absolutely searing. But right now, I know that a number of the drivers will be happy to see this late safety car because this is the part of the race where the tyres really start to go off if they are going to. The versatility... No, I didn't even want to use the word versatility there. I like it that much. I just throw it into sentences by accident. The durability of these tyres has been a fantastic talking point for us, and as Zach pointed out to me, they can do 7 to 8 laps on a push lap consecutively on these Hankook tyres, which is really, really impressive. When you've commentated on a number of motorsports before, that you'll always see drivers do 1 fast lap and then they'll do maybe 2 slow laps to wind it back up. It's great to see that the drivers have got that option underneath them, and I imagine, Zach, from a driving perspective, to be able to have that much trust in a tyre as well is hugely important for your confidence, whether you can throw the car about and for how long.
100%. And you want to have a stable platform underneath you. When you're going into a corner at probably, in these 110, 120 mile an hour-ish at sort of high-end speed, you want to know that when you brake, the car's going to stop. You want to be able to slam that brake pedal to your desired pressure. You want to be able to then trail off, turn in, trust that the car is going to grip. Because, these cars, they do take a lot of commitment. Yeah, fair enough, there's a lot of aerodynamics, and with that, the faster you're going, the more grip you generate, the faster through the corner you can go. But they do also rely a lot on that mechanical grip. And if you go into a corner and suddenly the tyre starts slipping, you start to load it up, and then, either the rears go or the fronts go. Both ways, it's a bit of a disaster. So to have that confidence in the tyre, to know that you don't, as a driver, need to largely adjust anything in terms of your driving, you can just focus mainly on the inputs themselves, focus mainly on hitting your apexes, finding your braking markers, getting your foot down. It makes a huge difference as a driver, and there's probably nothing more frustrating than doing a stint and being like, oh yeah, cool, fresh tyres, this is great. 3 laps later going, yeah, front's dead, brilliant. It's heartbreaking as a driver. It's the last thing you want. So yeah, big credits to Hankook for their efforts in supplying this tyre, and I'm sure the drivers and teams largely are very grateful as a result of it. You can see weaving around the serpentine to get as much temperature in. The safety car shooting off into the distance. That tells me we're going green flag at the end of this lap. So for the Serbian there, Petrovic, he'll be looking to put his foot down and chase what will be his first victory of 2026.
I was just paying attention there to the tyre marks on the road. You can see when they're weaving like this, a lot of the really thick black marks on the left-hand side there. Where look at Rocco Coronel. He's painting the circuit in rubber at the moment. No other drivers are doing that half as much. But Coronel is absolutely layering the track with rubber down there. I don't know if he plans on using those big black streaks as speed bumps later or what, but he is absolutely lathering the tyres on. We will still have a good few laps of racing here, I'm happy to say. Petrovic trying to catch these guys out now with a little bit of last-minute weaving. He's really slowed it down. Wow, he's properly brought it to a halt here as Petrovic trying to catch these guys out. He's going to go now while he's weaving. Yep, oldest trick in the book, that one. Gets away from Nathan Tye slightly for now, but he's going to be helped out by Slipstream. He's hoping that Nathan Tye gets thrown back into the pool behind him with all those drivers chasing. It looks like as well. Tunion having to go defensive on that inside line. Lots of people going over with him. A nice clean restart down the start-finish straight. Let's see how they manage to navigate turn 1. I mean, already they're 3 wide behind. Welcome to Formula 4, ladies and gentlemen. 3 wide in just 1 corner. Everybody filtering their way through, trying to pick outside line, inside line. Kasper Schorman's really close with his teammate in there as well. That was nuts close. That nearly shredded the rear tyre with the front wing. A little bit of a lock-up here and there, but nice tidy restart that. A good start from Petrovic. He's managed to open a good few car lengths here on Nathan Tyres. Big move down the inside from Canton.
Yeah, a nice little send there from the 22. He eyed it up. That's actually left him susceptible, though. Here comes Rocco Coronel, driving each other off this circuit there. Bit of a bump. Is that the number 11? Yeah, that's Sato up in P18 for Monlau. Side by side, there's contact. Vivek Canton straight into the side of the championship leader, Rocco Coronel. A battle that has come to blows. He'll take the MotoGP slow penalty, but with it losing his front wing, all sorts of out of shape down the hill through turn number 9, and that ultimately is Canton's day done.
Yeah, I mean, that front wing was pretty sturdy. He already had contact on the nose with Kasper Schorman's earlier on, but now he's smashed into the side of Coronel. I wonder whether that'll do any damage to the cooling on Coronel's car. Obviously, the side pods of these cars mainly used to cool them. They'll have radiators in there. They are basically massive side-mounted air intakes. But it was amazing, actually. Coronel's car, it just bounced off. It was like a Sherman tank as he headed through the left-hander. All of a sudden, the little Tatus just well, dinged off the side of him and somehow ended up on the right. Battle for second position then. Montero now moving down the inside of Nathan Ty. Hard on the brakes, they will go into the hairpin. Montero's been fantastic this weekend into this hairpin, and another victim falls to him into that braking zone. Coronel trying to defend there from Boris Lysen, who has been, again, really pushing the overtake. But he's not been able to get it through this time round. He's got to deal with the fact that he's got Coronel and Pinera both fighting with him. They're two drivers that I'm sure coming into this weekend he wouldn't have wanted for company. It's right up against the wall there. These guys are really pushing the limits, aren't they?
Yeah, really robust racing, to say the least. Front left lock up there from Rocco Coronel. That's going to open the door and allow Aleix Pinera to go through. Another position gain for the Spaniard, ducking there Schurman. So we've got our two championship leaders, P8 and P9. It's the Red Bull liveried MP Motorsport of Coronel. Behind him, of course, his teammate Casper Schurman's in the red and white machine. Behind that, side-by-side Kelleher versus Blaskos, who came to blows yesterday, up there in P11, eyeing up a points finish potentially. Side-by-side at the front of this train, that's going to be Boris Lysen going defensive from the Technicar of Aleix Pinera, the number 25, just over his shoulder. Coronel versus Schurman's, though, coming into this race, 4 points separated them at the top. Noah Montero, though, up in P2, I think actually has an eye in to potentially lead the championship if Schurman's and Coronel don't sort themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what's beautiful about this championship. You know, we could come into a race focusing on two drivers that are right at the top. There could be one third, fourth or fifth that could just surprise us all and do the, as I called it yesterday, do a Turkington and just be really consistent, score points here and there. Oh, Coronel's off. Coronel's lost the back of the car and he's completely gone around. I don't think he went into the gravel, no, but he's going to have to wait for all the other drivers to go through. That's going to be a nasty place to rejoin. It looks like he might have a right rear puncture, you know. I think on some of the debris or based on the contact earlier, it looked like that tyre may have gone down. The car is definitely leaning. Wonder whether there was any lasting damage. And yeah, it's come to a stop.
That's race done.
Oh, dearie me. That's a massive shame. Well, now, Noah Montero, championship leader, surely.
Well, with Schurman's in P8, what is that, 4 points? Montero, 18. Yeah, he's championship leader now. Noah Montero, consistent as ever. P2 is more than enough. In fact, P3 would be more than enough to take the lead in the championship. Not by much, as we'll head on to will we get this is the final lap? If they cross the line at 0, depends when they cross the line. They break the beam.
Yeah, they've broken the beams further down, isn't it, from the actual start line? So, yeah, they have now begun what will be the penultimate lap by just a few seconds. Wow, that was right on the cusp, but what a race this has turned into. I mean, Coronel off. We had Schurman's then having contact earlier on with Canton. This is all played into the hands of Noah Montero. He's got the fastest lap of the race as well so far, 58.7. So he's really maximising the amount of points he can gain on these guys, subject to him potentially taking the win. That's the only thing he could do more now, but it would be a shame for Petrovic to lose this at the end if they get a chance to fight with each other, because Petrovic has been supreme, hasn't he? Sure, fresh tyres and all of that, but it's been a great drive.
You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? You can give him the fresh tyres, you can't make him drive very well, can you, right? But Petrovic has. He's done so well, and dubbed now by his team as Mr. Sunday is Andrej Petrovic, dubbed by his team as well as probably the most unlucky driver on the grid. He had a crash in race 1 at Portimao. The team had 1 hour to repair what was effectively a written-off car. He comes back through, he finishes P2 in the race. It was then a P3, race number 1 here at Aragon, a P5 in race number 2 as well. Petrovic, I think, we talk about deserving drivers, right? There's the number 11 that's off as well. That's Sato, who suffered a bit of a blow earlier on in the race through turn number 7, now down and out of this one. But when we talk about deserving drivers, Petrovic is definitely one that's in that conversation. Montero, you say doing a Turkington. He hasn't finished higher than P3 in the season. It was 3/3 at Valencia, a third at Portimao, 2 fourths in Aragon. And right now, if he finishes P2, he's taking the lead of the championship. I'm not sure if we're going to go back green flag this lap, in which case we need to not finish the race under safety car. But right now, Montero in a very good position.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure a number of years ago, and I'm talking maybe 2010 or 11, there was a driver I'm pretty sure won a Formula 3 title without even winning a race all season. I think they only had something like 3 podiums all championship, and then they managed to do it. The lights on the safety car are still on. They would be usually off by this point when they head down the back straight. So I'm pretty sure this will be a safety car finish, unfortunately, unless they make a last-minute call here, and that Audi absolutely steams off down the road. Something I've always wanted to do, actually, being involved in motorsport, not to sound spoiled, but obviously just be in a safety car for a lap and just see what it's like in there, because compared to the race cars themselves, it looks like quite a sedate pace, doesn't it? But it's quite funny when you go to a race meeting and you see the safety cars and medical cars having their heads kicked in around the circuit. It's quite good fun to watch, but yeah, it will be a safety car finish by the look of it here, which is a shame considering the race we've had, but that's racing sometimes, right, Zach?
Yeah, a bit of an anticlimax. We went so long without a safety car. You know, we were hopeful. And then, understandably, unsurprisingly, I should say, things all kick off. And to be fair, you can't blame them. The race was so tight. It's very fine margins. And ultimately, the small incidents that we had, I think it was Vivek Canthan that brought out the first one, grinding to a halt with contact with Rocco Coronel. Around the outside of turn 8, down the inside of turn number 9, where the car is all loaded up at the front. The rear tyre is very, very light. If you've got your brake bias a click or two to the rear and you press that brake pedal, you're going round. He had it all sorts of out of shape. Down a hill as well, where you've then got that sudden compression. It's very unstable to get a car around there, especially when you're offline and side by side with someone. So you've got to give Vivek Canthan a little bit of sort of an allowance, I suppose, there. It's still a catastrophic mistake, and Coronel as well, potentially a championship-defining moment, DNFing from this one. But it's small mistakes that largely add up to slightly large consequences. And while it is anticlimactic, one driver that won't be complaining is Petrovic leading the way. He'll be like, yeah, you guys stay out, you guys do your thing, take your time, marshals. He's loving it, I think, leading the way, and probably not the way you want to take your first win of this season, but he's no less deserving as a result.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just looking down the order. Canthan is still going, actually, so he might have been able to get back round and have the nose changed and go back out. Coronel is also still running as well, actually. He does have a 5-second penalty for track limits, but he is still running, which is interesting. So I don't think the car was completely broken. I think the safety car came out more for Sato's car at the side of the road when, well, I mean, Coronel, luckily, will carry on. But, I mean, it's not going to net him any points. It's not going to make any difference when it comes to the championship standings. It's the same as a DNF, unfortunately, finishing down in what is now 30th position. But still, he was able to at least keep the car going and appear on the results sheet, which I don't even know if that's a consolation at this point, is it?
Yeah, no worries, mate. You've lost the championship lead, but you did finish P33.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, proud.
Yeah, good job. As a driver, you're just not going to want that, are you? It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, to be honest. In fact, no, he's P30. He's not P. It's fine. It's a little bit better. No, it's no better for Rocco Coronel. He's going to be fuming, and all the more to prove when we go to Harama in, of course, well, in what seems like an eternity. You spoke yesterday about ending the weekend on a low. Coronel loses the championship, finishes P30 in the race. He's got to live with that now for 2 months.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. It is a long old time until the next round of the championship. And I mean, I'm quite frankly, I'm gutted because it's been a fantastic introductory weekend for us two here in the commentary box to get things underway. But as they head around the final corner to take his first win in the F4 Spanish Championship, it is going to be Andrej Petrovic. The number 77 T-code car crosses the line, albeit behind the safety car to take the win. They're the team very happy on the pit wall. Noah Montero and the Griffin Course squad will be over the moon as well. A great result for them. And Nathan Tye, what a weekend for him, Zach. 3 podium finishes, a second, a first, and now a third. He's been on each of the podium steps. That is exactly what he wanted for his championship. But Petrovic was pretty supreme in that one, to be honest. I mean, no lead changes at all. That's quite a dream scenario in Formula 4, isn't it?
Absolutely. Petrovic dominated that race, and for, 24 minutes we were with no interruption. So he did 24 minutes flat out, green flag. The drivers behind him were still at an arm's reach, right? We were only talking a gap less than 2 seconds. So at no point could he have felt safe. One small mistake and that's straight back again. So he wasn't under any physical pressure in terms of people overtaking him, but that mental pressure to know that the drivers are still there. There is a shadow cast over you effectively, definitely in the sun here at Aragon. And he's dealt with that pressure, kept his composure, as we spoke about yesterday. Such an important skill. And for Petrovic, again, kept his composure through the first safety car restart. Ultimately, didn't get that sprint to the finish that we would have wanted. But still, a brilliant result for him, his best of the season. Same too for Noah Montero, who takes his first P2 of the season. And with it, his 5th podium from the 9 races thus far. And with it, takes the championship lead ahead of what should be Casper Schulmans in P2.
Yeah, it's interesting. No Montero has had 4 podium finishes, but none better than 3rd so far in this campaign. So, yeah, great result for him. But to lead the championship without taking a race win, that shows you just how consistent he has been. Nathan Tye will be right up there in the conversation as well now. He was a little bit further down coming into this weekend, but after a 2nd and a 1st, he's leapfrogged the likes of Nacho Tunion, Alex Pinera, and Petrovic, funnily enough. And now coming into this race, he had a bit of a comfortable gap over Nacho Tunion. He will extend that gap slightly, but there's a bit of a brick of a few of them in the middle that are now much closer to the top of the championship than they were before. And the guys that were right at the sharp end have sort of just had a bit of a sprinkling of points and nothing major. So, yeah, it's going to be super exciting now in the build-up to Jarama, but I'm gutted that it is so long away. Jarama is a great circuit to commentate on when it comes down to even truck racing, which is just nuts to think that they even go there. But it's going to be so much fun in these cars, I can tell you, Zach. It's going to be an absolute riot. Any circuit we go to will be, surely. But I think Jarama is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And we spoke about the low of Coronel coming away from this weekend and having to think about the fact that he's lost the championship lead for months on end. Petrovic now gets to ride the high of winning the race and obviously having 2 months to enjoy it.
Yeah, T-Code have got so much to celebrate this weekend. They've done such a brilliant job. You know, kind of the new kids on the block, I guess, in terms of teams, taking it to the fight of the titans that are MP Motorsport and Campos, and have done super, super well. In terms of the team standings, they were the top scoring team in race 1. They were the 2nd highest scoring team in race 2. I think definitely they'll be up there with P1 and P4 after race 3 as well. A supreme race. Look at those tyres. They were fresh out of the box at the beginning of this race for our race winner, who gets out and understandably will be very elated. Setting up that weekend in Jarama, though, we talk of Noah Montero yet to take a victory. He did win the Spanish Winter Series Championship in 2026. He took 2 wins that season, both of them. Guess what circuit? Jarama. So he could be looking quite good in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great that some of the drivers can come back into another season knowing they're armed with the experience of these cars at certain tracks as well. That obviously helps them and means that the rookies can figure it out for themselves. But Petrovic, as you can see there, very happy, hugs all around for the team. He was absolutely elated. Nathan Tye over the moon as well. He's celebrating with his team in the corner. But what lovely scenes down there in the pit lane for our race winner, Andrej Petrovic. Just to touch on the rookies class as well, Kaczynski took the win in the rookies from Leisen and Pinera. That spin for Coronel dropped him out of the rookie lead. So it's a fully different podium than it was looking earlier on. But there you go. Andrej Petrovic really, really over the moon. And I imagine it's quite scorching in that helmet, so now he's celebrated. He'll want to get that off quite quickly. But now he gets to take some pictures with the team as well. I love that they do this. It's so cool to see, and it's a great one to have with the CV, right?
It is. It looks so good. That'll make for a good Instagram post a bit later on today.
I'm right.
Looks great, and it shows what it means to T-Code and everything, and they put so much effort in. And as a driver, you know, a lot of the time we do sing about the drivers, right? But the unsung heroes, I think, are the teams, especially in these feeder series. They do so much work. They travel around with the driver. They put so much work in to prepare the car, to get it as fine-tuned as possible. This is a spec series, so your setup makes such a big difference. And the team, as a result, well, they deliver that. T-Code take the win.
Absolutely. It's Petrovic takes the win then from Noah Montero, with Nathan Tye completing the podium. Then next up is Nacho Tunion ahead of Kaczynski, who wins in the rookie class. Boris Leisen and Alex Pinera finish behind in 6th and 7th. They complete the rookie podium. Then we have Kasper Schormans ahead of Daniel Kelleher and Jacob Mikulev into the top 5 for the first time this weekend. He gets a point as a result of that. Then behind it was Burnett and Bull Barella. Bull Barella having quite a good run through the order. Jean Carras next up in 13th place. Mickey Blaskos 14th, and Stephen Hayden's into 15th place. It was quite funny because he was really fighting with the guys inside the top 10 in the early part of the race, but fell down a few positions at the end. Next up, Maria Neto finished in 16th position. I think she was the highest placed female driver in that one, so she will be on the podium in just a few moments' time. Then it was Fischer, Flucher, Cochet and Mulder. Arnaldo was 21st ahead of Carras. The other Carras, as Zach and I are going to continue calling them over the course of the season. Depends who's ahead, I guess. Rice and Florescu next up. Nakazato, Maiton in 26th ahead of Loa and Urus. Radek in 29th. And Canthan in the end actually completed the 30. He got away from Rocco Coronel. And down in the pit lane we have Alex Garcia ready to speak to our race winner.
So we're talking to our finally race winner here in Formula 4 Spanish Championship. Andre, we had a bet, we had a date, and Andrei Petrovic doesn't miss his dates. First time winner in the season. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, I think one of my strong points is when I get the opportunity, I take it. And now I had the opportunity to win, and I didn't want to disappoint my team and everyone, all of the fans from Serbia. So I had to get the win for them. But it's just beautiful. This is just a result of all of the hard work. Every round we're better. The whole team is better. It's incredible the support I have. Even before qualifying, it was super stressful, but they still managed to give me a good car. And this is just redemption for Portimao.
Talk us a little bit about that, because it is very easy to think that the work behind the scenes is, easy as a team, but it is not. And you have been working not just over the past couple of weeks. This is a long, long process to get a team to the top.
Yeah, it's long. First time I came to Technicar, I was one of 2 drivers, and it was incredible how little experience, how little knowledge the engineers and mechanics had. And through the years we worked so hard. Last year we got 1 win in the Winter Championship, and this year we've just started amazing and worked towards something amazing, and it's only the best is only to come, and I'm really, really grateful. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. This just shows, and now we're a target of a few teams, but that's a good thing. That means you're doing something right.
So if the best is yet to come, does that mean that you're aiming for the championship now?
Of course. Even after round 1 in Valencia and after crash in Portimao, the aim was still the same. It's just a little bit bigger point gap, but I think it's a better redemption story to win when you're a little bit further back.
Right, Andre, time to enjoy it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant to hear from our race winner there. You get the sense there, Zach, that there's quite a lot of relief in those words from Andrei Petrovic, because he's obviously very happy about it, but he shows that there's a lot of work gone into getting him into that position and taking this race win. So relief definitely in his mind, I think.
Absolutely. We spoke with Nathan Ty yesterday. Similar story, right? It's relief. It's that burden off of your shoulders to carry that forwards. And now the momentum should be there. For Petrovic, again dubbed by his team as maybe the unluckiest driver on the grid, he's shaken that off now. He's gotten rid of that burden, and now, like I say, can use that momentum going forward through the rest of the season. And Petrovic, like I say, absolutely smashed it from the get-go, really, especially at that launch. We touched on the fact that they swapped places, himself and Schurman, from the respective rows. Petrovic was not backing down from anyone on that opening lap.
Yeah, it looked like he was well up for a fight straight away, and so was the rest of the field behind them as well. They all knew that there was going to be a lead gaggle like we very often get in Formula 4. There is Sato off the road for the first time of 2. We had this incident between Canton and Coronel, which was a very, very interesting moment of the race. Canton did actually finish ahead of Coronel at the end, despite taking the new nose cone on the car. But then a pivotal moment potentially in the championship, Coronel losing the back of the car into turn 11, handing Petrovic his first win in the F4 Spanish Championship. A great weekend rounded out for Nathan Ty in 3rd place, and Noah Montero, of course, taking the championship lead. He's going to feel a bit relieved as well, I think, at this point, Zach, because when you go up against the likes of Schurman's and Coronel, they are 2 feisty drivers to try and fight for in a championship, aren't they? So to get ahead of them without having to take a race win so far, that must be quite a bit of pressure off his shoulders. In fact, actually, sorry, Zach, you're not getting a chance to answer that, so I'll leave you quiet. I'm going to hand down to Alex, who's there in the pit lane, ready to round that out for us. Alex, how's things down there?
As you can see, big celebration in the Technicar squad. This is a very important result for them. They already had, of course, that win by Nacho Tuñón, and having that second win for their other driver from Andrei Petrovic. For them, this just is confirmation, really. They know that they can do it. They knew that they could do it. And now they just get to have this good momentum. Do not forget, for the next 2 months, they get to keep that feeling of we are the ones on top of the world right now, and we are the ones with the target on our backs. How will things pan out in Jarama? How will things be in approximately 9-10 weeks in the future? This is something that we do not know, but what we do know is that these guys here are already title challengers. Exciting second half of the season, that is for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the battles are very far from over here. And I mean, Zach, we've seen just how close the points are coming into this, and now leaving the weekend as well. They're still just as close. Anybody from within the top 5, subject to a good weekend, could jump to the championship lead, couldn't they?
They could indeed. It's been such a good season thus far, and it will only continue to be. There you can see the championship as it stands. Noel Montero, 5 points clear of Casper Schulmans. Nathan Ty in P3. I mean, he's had such a good weekend. Rocco Coronel, though, coming into this weekend, no longer can he trip over himself and only lead by a single point in the championship. He only leads 4th place by a single point to Boris Lysen in P5. Rocco Coronel, he needs to find something to bounce back going through the rest of the season. For those interested in the twin rivalry as well between Philippe Carras and Jean Carras, the two twins, it's Philippe currently leading the way in that respective twin rivalry, which will be another interesting one to keep our eye on over the course of the season.
So Jean is officially at this point the other Carras then, if he's in second position out of the 2 in the standings. That will change round after round between them. Drivers ready to head out on to the podium. It's a bit cooler in there, I imagine, right now than where Alex is in the pit lane. Looks absolutely red hot there. I mean, it's warm in the UK this weekend. It's going to be a very hot week, but look at it there. Absolutely scorching out in Aragon. It's a gorgeous part of the world, though. But as we said yesterday, Zach, we both know it's quite logistically difficult, isn't it?
I've not been there yet to Aragon, and logistically I'm happy. In terms of the racing, maybe less so. It looks like a brilliant place to be, and this weekend it absolutely has been the place to be in the F4 Spanish Championship. So if you are ever local to a circuit, potentially Barcelona later in the year, close to of course the airport and everything, logistically quite easy to get to, get yourself a ticket, come down to a weekend. Very inexpensive and, well, fantastic racing to go with it as well. So definitely would implore anyone to be on site. Me and Chaz would be very jealous of you later on in the season if you are able to attend one of the rounds. But yeah, in a moment, of course, the drivers will take to the podium, Petrovic, Montero and Nathan Ty. Big weekend, and as we approach the halfway point in the championship, largely a turning point, a pivot point, and one that I think when we get to Barcelona for round number 7, we're going to be looking back on as one of those things in hindsight that we always say at the end of the season: the shoulda, the coulda, the wouldas, the maybes, the what ifs back at the back end of the season. This, I think, is going to be a round that we reflect on as a turning point.
Shoulda, coulda, and woulda are 3 drivers, obviously triplets that will be racing in the championship from next season. But no, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it shapes up, and I think it's going to be an important part of the championship now that they have such a big break until next time. There's a lot that they can work on as teams and as drivers. It's not like they're being thrown from one race weekend straight into another back to back with that pressure on their side. So I'm interested, very interested, because people think a lot of the time that these race weekends are just about the race weekends themselves, but a lot goes into the time between them, doesn't it, Zach, where they have to prepare mentally and physically and logistically. There's much more behind the scenes than people let on for sometimes.
Yeah, it's not just as easy as jumping into the car and going quick. Thankfully, and we've touched on sim racing a little bit because myself and Chaz are kind of sim racing nerds, but it's such a valuable thing to have that sort of accessibility to practice. I mean, Aragon is available on a lot of the top simulator services, especially as well the F4 kart, which is very well recreated. These drivers have got a lot of luxuries that drivers of the past didn't have. They can prepare, and you're right, the fitness, the nutrition. These drivers invest a lot in their driver coaches, in the people around them, and it all culminates together to create a podium as spectacular as this one. Andrej Petrovic will be the last one to take to the top step, and we always love a good champagne battle on the podium, and I'm sure these guys will be celebrating very hard indeed.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time until any of them get a chance to spray the champagne. We've got Maria Neto on the right-hand side of the podium there. She's the highest-placed female driver in that race. 3rd position, of course, going to Noah Montero. Boris Lysen sorry, I was looking at the class standings there. My apologies. We have... Oh, it's just changed over on me. I'm so sorry. The results have just changed page on me there.
Montero in P2.
It is Montero, it is, isn't it? Yeah, I couldn't remember his first name for a minute. The national anthem is playing, but unfortunately, if Zach and I speak over it, it's because we at the moment cannot hear it. So apologies if that does come across as disrespectful in any way. But yeah, I mean, even now, look, you can see Andrej seems relieved after that result, doesn't he? He's just taking in the moment now and enjoying his victory.
So important. I always talk about, I love Cars, the movie, and it's been so good to I guess grow up with that, and a lot of these drivers would have grown up with that as well. But
absolutely.
I always talk about Cars and Lightning McQueen's story, right? He took that moment to reflect and slow down in Radiator Springs, and it's something I think a lot of drivers need to remember. You know, enjoy the moment. Race wins and things. You know, you're not going to go out there and win every race. You're going to have hardships. Enjoy the moments like this. Because then, you know, in future you can look back on this career when Petrovic is racing at the highest possible level possible. He can remember this moment, he can enjoy this moment, and it's a great memory to have. And I think, a lot of drivers don't, you know, especially in an age of social media and everything, it's so easy just to skip on to the next one and, you know, okay, cool, next race week, let's crack on, let's put in the work. Slow down for a minute. Just enjoy, reflect, take a breath, take it in, because a lot of people aren't in this position. And maybe in a couple of years, you won't be in this position to be racing around the world. So for Petrovic to sort of just take that step back, to take that big deep breath on the top step of the podium, it's really good to see him enjoying it. And ultimately, I think it showcases just how much it means to him as well.
Yeah, definitely, and it's great to see that. I mean, we've both covered sim racing events where you'll see a driver cross the line and finish a race taking quite an important race victory, and there'll be no emotion on their face whatsoever, and it really annoys me. So it's great to see the drivers here really enjoying the moment and feeling the relief of being able to get those race victories. I know that with how close to the front of the field that we have seen Montero, especially, you know, he'll be really pleased with that second place. But Andrej Petrovic, over the moon to take his first win here in the F4 Spanish Championship. And that trophy, I'm sure, will be getting pride of place amongst what will be, I'm sure, many others on a shelf or a fireplace somewhere. And the guys will now make their way up to the top step for their pictures to be taken. And they will have all of their pictures done, ready for the social media. And that will be the end of their weekend. And the pack down will begin, Zach. It's the bit that us as commentators don't have to get up to with a weekend usually. We were discussing it this morning that we often pack down with the broadcasters and help, but we don't have to do that in the heat. That's a proper champagne fight, that, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful stuff there. And there we go, getting drowned. Beautiful and nice there from Montero and Ty to celebrate the moment with Petrovic. What a brilliant weekend we've had for round number 3 of the F4 Spanish Championship.
We absolutely have done. It's been a fantastic first weekend for Zach and I as well. I'm sure I speak on both of us when I say that. It's been really, really good fun to be a part of this, and we look forward to how the rest of the season is going to shape out. Thank you so much for watching and listening to us. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcasting this weekend, and we'll be back in a very, very long time for the next round of the championship at Jarama, which will be on the 22nd and 23rd of August, but we are sure that the action will be just as good. From me, Chaz Draycott, and the wonderful Zach Sweeney, we wish you a very good afternoon, and we'll see you again very, very soon.